Hello, everybody. It's nice to see all of your faces. My name is Rob Entz. I'm the Executive Director of the Bateman Horne Center. And today is MECFS and FM International Awareness Day. And very, very happy to have all of you join us. We are, as Bateman Horne Center, co-sponsoring this event along with ME Action and our local chair, Becca Kane. And today we're going to have an opportunity to hear from some experts on the topic, as well as share some of the voices of the millions missing. Before we get started, I want to read to you really quickly a declaration from the governor of the state of Utah. Gary Richard Herbert declaration. Whereas myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome is a complex chronic disease responsible for causing extreme fatigue, widespread muscle and joint pain, and a host of other symptoms that often worsen after physical or mental activity. Whereas MECFS impacts patients differently, but is often severe enough to cause a significant reduction in occupational, educational, social, and personal activities, leaving many to states of immobility and exhaustion. Whereas MECFS can affect numerous body systems, although the underlying mechanisms and root system for the disorder remains hotly debated, and rapid physical and cognitive exhaustion can impact these systems after minimal exertion or attempts at simple mental tasks. Whereas this disorder affects more than 1 million Americans of all backgrounds, races, genders, and more, causing them some variation of symptoms, including pain throughout the body, sleep dysfunction, cognitive impairment, immune dysfunction, and automatic and neuroendocrine manifestations. And whereas Utah recognizes the struggles faced by those afflicted with this disorder, respects their courage, and stands with organizations and individuals throughout the world that are fighting to research, treat, and eradicate this disease. Now, therefore, I, Gary R. Herbert, Governor of the great state of Utah, do hereby declare May 12th, 2020 as Myalgic Encephalomyelitis Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Day in Utah. Grateful to the governor and his staff for helping us do that. And we will post this PDF on our website and make that available for any of you who'd like to download a copy for yourselves. I'd like to introduce Mary Sue Rominger, a longtime advocate and volunteer and current board chair of the Bateman Horne Center, to say a few words. Mary Sue?
Thank you, Rob. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Sue Rominger, and I do chair the board of directors at the Bateman Horne Center. On behalf of Bateman Horne Center, please let me extend our gratitude to be co-sponsoring this event with Utah ME Action and Becca Kane. Bateman Horne Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in Salt Lake City, Utah. Our board of directors is a volunteer board comprised of patients, caregivers, and a scientist researching pain and fibromyalgia. Our mission is to empower patients, advance research, and improve clinical care for all of those impacted with MECFS and fibromyalgia. Our mission guides our decisions and path forward with the goal to improve the lives of patients everywhere, not only with the work of our clinical and research staffs, but through education for patients and medical providers as well. You can find many resources on our website, such as education videos, information on virtual support groups, a patient education series given by Dr. Bateman, information to take to your doctors to help them understand your illnesses better, and much, much more. These are available to anyone, anywhere. So today, we're faced with yet another challenge, COVID-19. But I believe that with these new challenges comes hope. More science and research that may help us to better understand viruses and illnesses, new ideas for treatments, and a new approach to healthcare in the form of telehealth visits. Hopefully, these telehealth visits will become more widely accepted and perhaps, we can wish, covered by insurance, which would be such a big plus for our community. We recently added a COVID-19 resource page to our website, accessible through our homepage, that gives a lot of information. I encourage you all to take a look. On this Awareness Day, my hope is that you are all safe and coping well, and that you know there are many dedicated individuals, medical providers, researchers, advocates, volunteers who are working very hard and care about patients with ME/CFS and fibromyalgia. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mary Sue. And now I'd like to turn the time over to Becca Kane.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today online. This marks our third year hosting a Millions Missing gathering here for the state of Utah. I'm so grateful for each of you gathering with us online. I know it's been different this year with everything going on with COVID-19. For those who haven't met me, I became involved with ME Action because my mother has ME. She's been living with ME for a few years now, and it's drastically changed her life and what life looks like on a day-to-day basis for her. As a family member to someone with ME, I'm sure many of you understand the intense longing of wanting to help, but not being able to. And that's why I got involved with ME Action. Because I wanted to do something. Gathering once a year to advocate for change and raise awareness in our community is so important, but I don't think that's enough. This year, moving forward into 2020, I would like to launch an official Utah state chapter for ME Action. There are currently 9 state chapters, and Utah would become the 10th. As a state chapter, we will be more involved with year-round in engaging local and state public health departments and elected officials. State chapters are also heavily involved in raising community awareness, offering continuing education about ME to our medical health community, and also engaging universities and hospitals with information to improve access and quality of care for people with ME, which is so important, as I'm sure that you all can relate with. So I can't launch this state chapter by myself. I am going to need some help. I need at least 5 to 10 people who are willing to step up. It could be you, it could be a family member, anyone you know who might be interested to help me launch this state chapter. I at least need 4 people to become chair members in this state chapter. We would need a state chair, advocacy chair, Millions Missing to help organize this every year, and then an education chair member. So if anyone is interested who's on this call, let me know. We'll send out an email after this whole thing is over, and you can contact me directly or contact Bateman Horn Center, and they will forward your information to me. We can get in touch. I'm going to be holding a meeting in June, probably on Zoom like this, where we can kind of get started with launching our official state chapter. Once again, I thank you all for showing up today. It means a lot to every single one of us who's here, obviously, to know that you're not alone in this. Everyone matters, and you all deserve the equality of care. So at this time, I would like to turn the mic over to Canada Johansson. She volunteered, she's in our ME Action group on Facebook, and she volunteered to read a poem that she wrote about ME. She's 20 years old, and she's been sick with ME and fibromyalgia for 5 years now. She loves the arts and music, and she plays the piano and sings and loves to perform when she's able to. She's married, and she's currently pursuing a degree in accounting. So I really take my hats off to you for pursuing that with all this going on, because I'm sure it's not easy, and we like to honor that. So at this time, I'll turn the mic over to you, and if you'd like to read that poem and share with everyone.
Hey, thank you. Well, I'm excited to be here. Can you all hear me? Great. Well, first, I just want to start by saying I wrote this poem for those that might feel lost or might feel like they need a friend to fight for them. And I would love to be that friend to fight for you. So I'll go ahead and read it now. I went missing years ago. Some don't even know that I spend most days away inside, and then my illness doesn't show. I can't show all the pain I feel, or fogginess, or dread. No one sees my energy gone, or the tears I often shed. It's not that I'm just tired, or need to exercise. It's because my battery is defective, or maybe it's the wrong size. Others see a broken bone and say it's fine to stay in bed, but my injuries are ones that you can't see, so they think it's in my head. I lost the life I used to have. I was happy, full of light. I could play or run or dance, but now all I can do is fight. Fight for others just like me who are grieving, who are lost. Those who used to do so much more without the unfair cost. We all sit and watch the world move on and leave us behind. We feel as though we don't exist or that others are just blind. That's why we are speaking out about the life we share. So please see us as we are. We know it isn't fair. But we also know that we are still here, even if it's not the life we wish. So listen close because I have myalgic encephalomyelitis.
I say a round of applause. I'm going to unmute everybody so we can hear it.
Thank you. Anybody's ever rhymed, wished.
So at this time, we are going to turn it over to our Bateman Horn Center staff, Angela Linford, who is our communications director, supported by Talia Dostal, who you'll also hear from a little bit later as we transition to the next part of our program today, who was also our education director. And both of them worked very hard with Becca to make this event happen today. So Angela, it's all yours.
And so this is the time for us to recognize the people that are suffering with this, but also to share a message of hope. One of the things that, and so here are my shoes, one of the things that we really wanted to have happen today is for there to be an element of hope in this and support, because the Bateman Horn Center, we're working so hard to educate doctors and to move forward on research. There is a lot of hope, and we know that when we're together, we're stronger. So hold up your signs of hope. And what we're going to do is we will be capturing some screenshots. You're okay with that? First, I'll start with mine so you can dance again. This is one of the reasons why I work for Bateman Horn Center, is so you can dance again. Let's see, I see together we are stronger. You are essential. You are not alone. We are in this together. Good research is increasing. And this one, Julia, is this art that you did?
Yes, I went ahead and I presented this collection to the Emmy Action on video. And I believe that Nova Southeastern University will be using it because it's called video art as well. I have it on plexiglass and I have it on canvas. And what I have is many different types of collections. So that is my goal, to eventually be able to help use my art to fundraise worldwide. I don't want to just stick around just with the neighborhood. I want to go worldwide with this concept because it's so desperately needed.
That's stunning. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Psalms 46. That's beautiful.
You're still the same person.
It says, always keep your hope alive, never give up, and tomorrow's another day.
I need your leadership, Congress. Fund Emmy's CFS research, make up for 30 years of disdain.
It is a pleasure to be here and in your company. I can still remember when I watched Jen Bray's movie Unrest for the first time and was very touched by her outreach to isolated and forgotten people with ME/CFS. And I also remember when ME Action emerged on the scene and began the Millions Missing events. It was brilliant. I was so grateful to have bright, creative, passionate younger people becoming a force for change using the power of the internet. The idea of connecting the millions missing around the globe has proven to be one of the most important projects for people whose lives are impacted by ME/CFS. It has given us visibility. It has brought advocacy communities together. It has raised awareness, and I'm proud to be a part of it. 20 years ago, I hung out my shingle as a self-proclaimed chronic fatigue specialist, determined to provide compassionate and informed care to marginalized people with chronic fatigue and widespread pain. That decision has changed my life in wonderful ways. I got off the proverbial treadmill, became self-employed, and began taking time to explore the lives and illnesses of my patients. I learned most of what I know from the people I care for, and they became my friends. It also gave me the unparalleled opportunity to meet like-minded clinicians around the country, actually around the world. Very special people who care more about helping their patients than any accolades or financial gain. My decision pushed me into the world of scientific inquiry and clinical research. It provided me an avenue for continual learning and the rare opportunity to share clinical knowledge and experience with scientists who are creative thinkers eager to solve medical mysteries. Now our world has been turned upside down by a global pandemic. How's this for a familiar story? Imagine being engaged in life, highly productive, when a flu syndrome changes your health. It's just a virus, but it creates sudden and unexpected dramatic change. Life patterns become upended. Uncertainty and loss are palpable. We lack diagnostic tests and treatments. The medical system is ill-equipped to deal with this virus and this flu syndrome that leaves people very ill. And this is with a crippling fatigue and strange neurologic and immune manifestations with an unknown future. So am I describing people with ME/CFS and fibromyalgia, or am I really talking about a world experiencing a COVID-19 pandemic? The millions missing have already walked this path. So we have to decide, is the glass half empty or glass full? You know, I look at this reset, at this global pandemic as a major reset, a great equalizer. And as a world, we can emerge from this pandemic with a new view about what really matters. I'm confident when we emerge from this pandemic, we will have a very different world of medicine, improved tests for viruses, improved treatment options for all kinds of viral illness. And there will be now a global awareness of post-viral sequelae. That means after effects. There are going to be hundreds and thousands of scientists and clinicians asking how just a virus can trigger a massive destructive immune response, cause bizarre neurologic manifestations, and lead to long-term illness with impaired function, disturbed sleep, cognitive changes, and widespread pain. Unfortunately, the millions missing will soon have company. I have no doubt that there will be a lot more cases of post-viral illness when we have conquered this coronavirus. But what I want to say is, as an advocacy community for ME/CFS and fibromyalgia, our suffering and hard work has put us in a position to help those who once turned away from us when we needed them. So all will benefit. We, the world, will never be the same, but there will be important changes and progress. What I want to say is that at Bateman Horne Center, we are committed to removing every barrier that prevents people with ME/CFS and all the associated comorbidities from benefiting from top-notch scientific progress and expert compassionate healthcare. So we will be here, we will continue the fight, and we're going to see a whole new world of trying to understand what it's like to suffer from post-infectious changes in your life and have a chronic illness. So be hopeful, stay engaged, and all of us in our different walks of life will begin to teach the rest of the world how to recover from this pandemic. We will never forget you. We will always keep working for you.
It's so good to be here. It's almost in a way better than being on the Capitol steps. It's our own personal Hollywood squares. It's pretty cool. It's good to see some familiar faces, and yeah, it's just good to be here. I'm Suzanne Vernon, and I've been researching ME/CFS since 1995. Been in this for a really long time and have been working with Dr. Bateman at the Bateman Horne Center. Well, I've been working with Dr. Bateman for a long time, since 2005, when I met her at the International IACFS meeting, and just knew that some of the answers and a lot of the passion that was there was going to be the solution for solving ME/CFS and fibromyalgia. So anyway, I am so happy to be able to be with the Bateman Horne Center and working to bring solutions, to bring answers, hope, treatments, etc., to our community. And like Dr. B said, you know, we're living in this really unprecedented time. I don't think any of us have lived like this, but if anyone is prepared to live like this, it is our ME/CFS and fibromyalgia community. It's pretty amazing, actually, what those of us who aren't affected have actually learned from you guys over the past several months, 3 months now, 4 months. I've been following, as many of us have, COVID-19 on a daily basis now. And I have to say, the amount of information and learning that has come from this pandemic is also unprecedented. Yes, the tragedy and everything is unprecedented, but the knowledge and the change and the research and the treatments and the camaraderie and everything, the way the world is coming together to solve this problem is just amazing. The amount of information that's coming out and the solutions that are coming out. So like Dr. B said, this is going to change a lot. And I think it's going to ultimately benefit what we know and how we move forward with everything that is going to happen as a consequence of this virus. This is a really cool graphic. It's a pretty up-to-date graphic of what we know about the course of SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. Once you get exposed before symptoms happen, the virus is actually present. And the majority of people that are infected are asymptomatic. That's really important to remember. So if you're practicing hand washing and wearing masks and staying at home and all those continue to do that, because this virus is going to be with us for a very long time. So continue to practice all of the social distancing and the behaviors that we've learned. So this blue line is detecting the virus in a nose swab. You guys have probably seen pictures of that plastic thing being stuck up people's nose. And then this pink one is a bronchial lavage, sputum. These are PCR samples. This orange is virus by PCR in the respiratory tract. And then these dotted, stool, can't forget the stool sample. Here's virus by PCR in this gold line here. And I think the interesting thing about this is that not only is the virus present at pretty high levels when no symptoms are obvious, but they also stay for quite some time. Up to 6 weeks now, they've been able to detect virus. These dotted lines are antibodies. So at about the end of week 1, beginning of week 2 is when your body starts to generate an immune response to it in the form of antibodies. So here we see antibodies going up. And as far as we know, these antibodies, at least the IgG, which is the antibody that stays around for a long time, hopefully stays around for a long time, and is the antibody that gives us immunity to the virus, is present and so far out at least 6 weeks. So hopefully we'll continue to learn that these antibodies are persistent and they neutralize the virus and they prevent reinfection. There's another little thing about preparedness that I'd like to share with you guys. I think this is an important slide for everyone. And that is a part of preparedness that sometimes we don't necessarily think about. If you happened to, even if you don't get COVID, if you go to the hospital, have an insurance, a little hospital bag ready to be prepared with your health insurance documents, some notes or some tracking on your phone about what your symptoms are, some things to keep you connected, a phone and a charger, and maybe some games and books, things just to keep you comfortable. And make sure you have a supply of masks with you, either a homemade mask, or if you have some other types of PPE that you can have. Keep all this ready to go when and if you have to go to the hospital. So anyway, I thought this was really cool. It's not something that I thought about. I do the hand washing, the mask wearing, and all that kind of stuff, but this is something that I think is really important for all of us to have. I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and kind of go on the same theme that Dr. B was on, about the awareness that this pandemic is really giving to the world. These are headlines, and I'm just going to read through them so you don't have to. It was supposed to be such a beautiful year. Survivors of coronavirus face an uncertain road back to normal. From normal life to this hell in a week. I'm sure all of these sound so familiar to you guys. How long can a heart last like this? More than 1.3 million people have recovered from the coronavirus and are likely immune, but painful symptoms may last far longer than people realize. Survivors of COVID-19, even as patients recover, emotional scars linger. It was life-altering. How will I handle another 3 weeks of this? That's what I try to not focus on because it scares me. Anyway, I've just been so struck by some of these headlines and how, again, these are all so familiar to us and to you who have been battling for a lot longer than most of the COVID people have. This is an article that was published today. We'll put a link to this article on our COVID page, and I highly recommend everyone read it. This is Peter Piot. He's a world-renowned virologist. He's the guy who discovered Ebola virus. The headline is, "Finally, a virus got me. Scientist who fought Ebola and HIV reflects on facing death from COVID-19. I read this article this morning and I was just struck by what he said. I'm going to go ahead and read it. On March 19th, I suddenly had a high fever and a stabbing headache. My skull and my hair felt very painful, which was bizarre. Didn't have a cough at the time, but still, my first reflex was, I have it. He goes on to say, but the fever didn't go away. I had never been seriously ill and have not taken a day of sick leave the past 10 years. I live a pretty healthy life and walk regularly. Oh, darn. I felt exhausted. I constantly felt exhausted. While normally I'm always buzzing with energy, it wasn't just fatigue, but complete exhaustion. I'll never forget that feeling. I had to be hospitalized, although I tested negative for the virus. This is also typical for COVID-19. The virus disappears, but its consequences linger for weeks. You're so tired. So you're resigned to your fate. You completely surrender to the nursing staff. You live in a routine from syringe to infusion and hope you make it. I am usually quite proactive in the way I operate, but here I was 100% patient. The days and nights were lonely because no one had the energy to talk. I could only whisper for weeks. Even now, my voice loses power in the evening, but I always had that question going around in my head. How will I be when I get out of this? I couldn't walk properly because my muscles were weakened from lying down and from the lack of movement, which is not a good thing when you're treating a lung condition. At home, I cried for a long time. I also slept badly. And this is how he ends the article. This was actually an interview. Many people think COVID-19 kills 1% of patients and the rest get away with some flu-like symptoms. But the story gets more complicated. Many people will be left with chronic kidney and heart problems. Even their neural system is disrupted. There will be hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, possibly more, who will need treatments for the rest of their lives. And then he ends, and now that I have faced death, my tolerance levels for nonsense and bullshit have gone down even more than before. So I calmly and enthusiastically, I continue calmly and enthusiastically, although more selectively than before my illness. I just love this last quote. No more bullshit. And kudos to you, Rebecca, for starting that state chapter. This is exactly what we're going to need moving forward. This is an opportunity. COVID-19 is a horrible thing, but for our community, it presents an unprecedented opportunity to bring awareness and a lot of knowledge and education and research to an area that has been under-researched and under-financed and uneducated. So all of those areas, now is really our opportunity to change the way going forward, and we can do this. And that's what Bateman Horn Center is going to really lead the charge, together with folks like the chapters and the federal agencies, to really look at COVID-19 and what are the long-term sequelae of COVID-19, and how can we mitigate the risks that of people recovering, who don't recover uneventfully from COVID, to becoming chronically ill, and also learning from those folks and helping our existing patient populations. So anyway, this is the bright side of COVID-19. I think it's going to give us an opportunity like we've never had before to bring awareness, to get money, and to help our community as well as the others that are going to result from this.
So as we wrap up here and go into transition, Dr. Vernon, one thing I thought I would just add to your list of preparation when people go to the hospital. There is an umbrella term called advanced care planning, and it includes having documentation known as an advance directive. And there are also post agreements when somebody is very seriously ill or very fragile. And I would just strongly encourage everybody to make sure that you have an advance directive that you keep with you as part of your packet. If something happens for whatever reason and you're not able to speak for yourself, or you have a health agent who understands your medical wishes and is empowered to help manage those choices for you. We will make sure that on our website we have current information. Some of these documents are state regulated and state specific, but it is important that I think we all look at that. Everybody over the age of 18 should have an advance directive. Now, to wrap up, I just want to check in with Becca, if there's any last words before we turn it over to Talia to transition into our next meeting. And just from my perspective and from the board of Bateman Horn Center and our staff, we thank all of you for your time, for your commitment to the cause. And I loved the comment that came out earlier in the chat room where Jennifer Clark, if you don't mind me calling this out, she says, usually I feel like a broken link, but today you all make me feel like a part of a strong chain. I think that's a wonderful sentiment. And again, the collective strength of what we can do will make a difference in the future.